If you've got an iPhone or a fairly mainstream Android, you probably don't worry too much about malware, viruses, that sort of thing, because it just doesn't come up. Occasionally you hear about an app here and there stealing some information, but it's not anywhere near as bad as it could be. Now, if you're using an off-brand Android, or if you go to a lot of app stores that aren't the normal Google Play Store and the iOS App Store, if you're jailbreaking or in some other way hacking your device, well, that's on you. But for mainstream cellular phone users, it's just not a problem. And yet, every single one of us who toils with a PC or Macintosh knows they're coming up with security upgrades every week. And some zero-day exploit that's going to take down the entire planet is the big problem of the day, and you had better reboot now because it's got to fix that thing. How is this? How are we already here in almost the end of the first fifth of the 21st century, and we're still dealing with this? Comes down to one phrase I like to say, my friends, and that's begin with the end in mind. Nobody could have expected in the early days of the internet that this was ever going to be a problem. I mean, the internet was designed for a couple of universities to talk to each other and a bunch of professors who have high ethical standards to communicate with each other. It was all designed to be wide open. And even when personal computers, PCs and Macs started rolling out, it was all wide open. Your computer had tens of thousands of ports, and by default they were all open. The entire hard drive or floppy drive where they started out was completely open. That's huge. I mean, it's just amazing that how just freakishly available everything was, and you could really totally mess things up without even trying. So flash forward to the internet era. The internet was designed to be, again, completely open, and that created problems almost instantly. The original standards that were used for the internet were really, really lax in security, and it's taken a long time to get past them. Even though we're on Windows 10 and Windows 11 now, there's still little bits of Windows that hark back to the very first version back in 1985. And that's where the real problems happen. There's millions and billions of lines of code that have been developed over the course of 30 and 40 years, so much so that it's just crazy how insecure it can all be. And yet, we can't just dump it all and start from scratch because we all have these apps on our computers that we want to use. The closest thing we can do is to move to something like cloud computing, like Chromebooks or Windows 365, which just got announced as I'm recording this. Because at least this is something where somebody else can take care of making sure it's secure all the time. It's really not your concern. But even so, that's not perfect. Ideally, you would want to just start from scratch again, really rethinking everything. But you got to wonder if we've just gone too far for something like that, if we just got bogged down by the minutia of our 30 and 40-year-old computers. Phones started a little bit later, and so they started out being a little bit more secure. But even that kind of really needs rethinking at this point. That's a lot to think about, and it's something we're probably going to have to deal with a lot in the next 5-10 years.